Perfect.
Yo, what's up guys, Deception here, bringing you another early game build guide. As a Holy Paladin, we'll be sustaining ourselves through prayer. We'll have the option of playing defensively with shields, or aggressively with two-handed weapons which grant us heals. Yes indeed, the more aggressive you are, the more healing you will receive. That's why this build is perfect for any player, any playstyle, whether you're skilled or new to Souls games, this build has got your back. Let me show you what we're going to be using. Sacred Blade, a strong ranged attack that increases weapon damage. Lightning Spear, a projectile that can be cast quickly or held for a strong attack. Prayerful Strike, an Ash of War that grants hyper armor and heals you for 30% of your maximum health on hit. Yes, this also stacks if multiple enemies are hit. This is our main tool for aggressive play as a Paladin. Barricade, an Ash of War that increases the effectiveness of blocking. Greatshield Talisman, decreases the amount of stamina needed to take hits whilst blocking. Lance, a strong weapon like many others that can be used whilst blocking. Golden Vow, a 45-second buff that increases damage done and reduces damage taken. Blessing's Boon, heals you for 720 HP over a 90-second duration. Holy Ground, heals you for 350 health over a 35-second duration while standing inside the Golden Ring. Both of these spells stack with the Blessed Dew Talisman, granting a total of 1250 HP over a 90-second duration. Once all the initial buffs fade, we can chug our Physick Flask, which heals 1620 health if paired with the Blessed Dew Talisman. Altogether, that's 2870 health, passively healing in one encounter. If using the Lance and the Shield, you're basically never going to get hit, and if you pair this with the two-hand with Prayerful Strikes, you'll be healing even more, and if you haven't figured it out yet, you basically can't die. Golden Vow is found in Limgrave, northeast of the Warmaster's shack. Head up the ridge, kill the knight, and loot him for the incantation. The lance is found just nearby, jump off the ridge onto the top of the ruins, and you'll find it here. Sacred Blade is found north of the 3rd Church of Marika. Kill the scarab and loot it here. Barricade Ash of War is found at the Castle Morn ramparts. Use the grace, pass time until night, and then kill the Black Knight roaming nearby. The Crimsonburst crystal tier can be found here. Go to the Minor Erdtree and kill the avatar defending it. You'll also get the Opaline bubble tier. The Blessed Dew Talisman can be found by using the chest at the top of this tower, past the Sleeping Giant, and loot the chest on the right. Lightning Spear incantation can be found in the Lakes of Liurnia. Kill the Leyndell Knight for his Prayerbook and hand this in to the Tortoise at the Church of Vows further north. He will sell you the Lightning Spear and Blessing's Boon. The Greatshield Talisman can be found in the Altus Plateau region. Go to the carriage here and loot the chest around the back. Prayerful Strikes can be found nearby. Head east to the lake here and loot it from the scarab. Holy Ground Ash of War at the Tree Sentinel armor set can be found in the cave here. Skip to the end of the video for a guide through. We're going to be using the heavy affinity when we apply our Ashes of War. You can pick up the Iron Whetblade in Stormvale Castle. Follow my direction over the rooftops, down into this courtyard, and then use one Stonesword key to gain access to this room here. You'll find the Iron Whetblade in front of the fireplace. And now it's time we go over the stats. Vigor is the most important. It doesn't matter how hard you hit if you're dead. Endurance comes in second. This allows us to wield heavier loadouts and roll, block, attack more often. Strength comes in at number 3 because ultimately we need to hit hard to kill stuff. Faith comes in after this. Our buffs don't scale off faith, so we don't really need a high level. In 5th place comes Mind. We need FP to cast our spells and buffs, so it's nice to have a few levels in there at least. Dexterity is not required for this build, however it may be required to wield certain weapons. This is the only reason you should be putting points into dexterity. On the right I've added the soft caps for Elden Ring. After these levels you get less bang for your buck, so you may want to consider spending additional points elsewhere if you want to be a higher level than 125. The reason I suggest level 125 is because this is a high enough level to complete the game, and it's also the current dueling level meta. This means the PvP at this level is optimized and lots of players are stopping around this level, so you'll get a lot of activity. If you want to see more guides like this, subscribe to my tiny channel because I'll be pumping out a guide for every single class in Elden Ring, including hybrids. If you'd like to make a new character and play this build, I've made a full walkthrough guide where we collect all the items in the most efficient order and we'll get to level 50 to 60 along the way. I'll also go into more depth on the build itself and how to use it. I killed Godrick on my first try without using summons or a single health flask, and you can too. Let's dive into it. We're going to start as a Confessor because this gives us the best starting stats for our build. Take the golden seed as your keepsake and head on into the world. Suicide to the first boss and get yourself to the first step grace in Limgrave. Head forward up the hill to the Church of Ely. Pick up the smithing stone 1 from the anvil and head up the path north until you reach the ruins. Steer off to the left and grab the grace. You'll be gifted Torrent, and now we can head south to grab the map and then down into the cellar here to get the Ash of War Whetblade. This allows us to equip Ashes of War at any grace site. Now we're going to head south, find a safe place to hop down off this cliff, turn right and enter the Limgrave tunnels. In here we're going to be collecting these little yellow smithing stones that the mobs are mining. Don't bother attacking the mobs, they're quite hardy and easy to outrun. Take your time in here and collect all the smithing stones you can. Once we've collected these, head back out the way you came in and don't bother fighting the boss if you find it. Once you've exited the Limgrave tunnels, we're going to fast travel back to the grey site where we received Torrent. We're actually going to quickly farm some of the guards here in hopes for a lucky shield drop. The brass shield is lightweight and fits perfectly with the Paladin theme we're going for. It requires 16 strength to wield, so we can't equip it just yet. I'd recommend killing about 6 guards. Don't waste too much of your time on it. Try your luck and then move on. We'll have plenty opportunity to get this later. Next, head west and follow the path until you find the golden seed here. Continue up the path until you find the grace site. Collect the stone sword key and then keep heading northeast up the hill until you find the strength knot crystal tier. Head back down the way you came, turn left, and then rest at the War Master's shack up ahead. On the map I've marked a location. We're going to go north from here, up the ridge, and kill this knight. He drops a very powerful Ash of War called Golden Vow, which is a great buff for us. If you're struggling to kill the knight, mark it on the map and come back later. Next, head back down to where we marked the map and grab the lance. This is an excellent weapon, as you'll see later on in the guide. Loot this chest for an alternative style shield and then continue south into the grassy area with all the giants. Aggro one of the giants and then stand near this statue so he smashes it whilst trying to hit you. Loot the contents of the statue and you'll receive a lot of smithing stones which we'll use to upgrade our weapons. Now head back northeast where we collected the lance, and I'm just going to quickly loot the knight because he decided to jump off the cliff. Then we're going to rest out the grace here and equip Golden Vow onto your sword if you manage to kill the knight. Head east over the bridge, grab the smithing stone here and continue down the track until you find the grace. We're now going to have to fight a reasonably strong enemy. Take your time with this one and take advantage of using heavy attacks. He summons a lot of mobs, but they're very slow and easy to outrun. Play it safe and take him out. He will most likely end up killing all the adds himself with big AoE attacks, so when he does this, make sure to get some space from him. We'll receive a death root from this boss, which is going to be needed later on in the guide. After this, head south and climb carefully down this wall. Once you reach the ground, head east to the Third Church of Marika and loot the Sacred Tear and the Physick Flask. Grab the Grace and head south into the Mistwood area. Follow the path until you find the map here. Afterwards, take a left and climb this hill until you find the crystal tiers underneath the Erd Tree. Go back to the path and continue south until you see Fort Haight. Rest at the Grace here, run up the path and collect the golden seed. Double jump around the troll and enter the fort. Roll into these barrels so that they don't explode when the mobs throw firebombs at you. Run past everything and make your way up the ladder. Loot the chest for the left half of the medallion. Climb back down and safely exit the fort. Next we're going to run southwest, follow the cliff line and you'll reach the Bridge of Sacrifice. Loot the smithing stones and the stone sword key on this bridge. Grab the grace here and then continue down the path. You'll see a carriage here which we need to loot. The Morning Star weapon is very important and we'll be using it shortly to farm our runes. Keep following the path, grab the grace here on your left and then continue south. Make sure you pick up the map here on the left as I forgot to, and then head up the cliffside and you should find another golden seed. Head south to the castle and use the terrain to avoid the arrows being shot at you. Once you enter Castle Morn, grab the grace and then use the lift here. Crouch and sneak around the right hand side of the castle courtyard until you find this doorway on your right. Open the chest and collect the Claymore. Now we're going to fast travel back to the Third Church of Marika where we got our Physick Flask. Up the cliff north we're going to find a crystal scarab which gives us the Sacred Blade Ash of War. After we've got this, go south, back down into the river and follow it up until you find the waypoint and use it. This will take us to Caelid. Once you arrive in Caelid, open the doors in front of you and rest at the Grace. Melina will offer to take you to the Round Table Hold. Press back when this option appears to dismiss her. We can always ask her to take us later. Go to the beast at the back of the sanctum and offer him the death root that we picked up from the first boss. He will give you the Clawmark seal and the beast eye in return. This is the seal we'll be using to cast our spells as it scales with faith and strength. Leave the sanctum and head south down the path, collect the golden seed here and then grab the grace further down. Turn around, head north, and then go immediately right. At the edge of the cliff here, find a suitable place to drop down, and then follow the path south, cross the bridge until we reach the next site of grace. Use the spirit spring just in front of you, collect all the runes from this graveyard as we will be using these later. You should now see Fort Faroth and the Erd tree before you. Run behind the Erd tree and use the spirit spring to reach Fort Faroth. Rest at the grace here. We're about to die, so use any runes you have to level up your strength. If you need to pop one rune in your inventory to do so, that's fine. After you've spent your runes, head into Fort Faroth, run straight past all the enemies and climb the ladder. Loot the chest and you'll receive the right half of the medallion. Head across the roof and down the far right hatch. Turn right and loot the rune at the end here. Be wary of the rat behind you. Turn around and jump over to your left. Head down the next hatch and loot the Radagon's Arsenal Talisman. You'll die now, but that's okay because we just used all of our runes, so we lost next to nothing. Now it's time to go and grab the gold pickle Foulfoot, so let's fast travel back to the first site of grace. Head left to the cliffside. Find a safe place to drop down and follow the shoreline until you see the item here. Collect it and then use the spirit spring to get back up safely. We're going to then fast travel back to Fort Faroth where we just were, and now we're going to farm our runes. Please watch this part of the video in full because this part is crucial and I don't want you to make any mistakes. Equip the Morningstar Mace and two-hand the weapon. Head down to the huge white dragon you see here and start attacking its tail. And when the bleed damage is inflicted, you'll hit around 13,000 damage. Once you kill the dragon, its tail will twitch, and this is when we need to mount up and quickly return to the site of grace and rest there. You'll receive 50,000 runes and the dragon will still be alive as long as you rested at the grace. I recommend you repeat this at least 4 times. If you'd like to farm more runes, that's absolutely fine. However, on the last kill you do, we need to remember to use the golden pickle Foulfoot to receive an additional 45,000 runes. The reason we use the golden pickle Foulfoot on the last kill is because it only grants you the additional runes when you officially kill the dragon. Now that we've got the best part of 250k runes or more, we're going to get some levels. We need to get 28 strength for our main weapon. We need to get 14 dexterity for the lance, 20 faith for the spells we'll be using, and then I recommend 20 vigor and 15 endurance. If you farmed more runes than this, I highly recommend you put all the additional runes into endurance and vigor. If you want to get the bonus tree sentinel armor at the end of the video, we're going to need a lot of endurance as that set weighs a lot. Now that we've got some levels, if you haven't killed the knight for the golden vow buff or killed the ghostly boss at the start of the game for the death root so we could get the clawmark seal, go and do that now. Otherwise, rest at the grace and ask Melena to take you to the round table hold. Go to the smith and upgrade the weapons you're going to be using the most. If you want to be aggressive, upgrade the Claymore as much as you can. If you want to use your shield and the lance to be defensive, upgrade the lance to full and then upgrade your Claymore afterwards. Now we're going to head back to the Castlemorn ramparts and use the grace to pass the time until night. There's a merchant here where we can buy some more smithing stones, and there's a black knight roaming on the path here. Use the lance and mount Torrent. Kill the knight and you'll get the Barricade Ash of War for your shield. Now we're going to mark some locations on the map. The Erd tree here, the church north of the Erd tree, and the shack in the southwest part of this area. There's also a second church that I forgot to mark, but we'll go there on the way anyway. Follow the path north and take a left, take another left and go up the hill, cross over the bridge, and then you'll come out near the church. Once you reach the church, go inside and pick up the sacred tear. Make sure you reinforce all the flasks with the golden seeds and the sacred tears we've got so far. I recommend you give yourself 2 or 3 FP flasks because we do use a lot of FP for this build. We're now going to kill the Minor Erdtree avatar, so make sure you have your Ashes of War that you'd like to use equipped. I recommend using the Claymore with the Sacred Blade Ash of War. Once you've killed the avatar, we'll get the Opaline bubble tier and the Crimsonburst bubble tier for our Physick flasks. After that, if you head to the edge of the cliff just west of you, you'll find a place to drop down and there'll be a shield to loot here. It's a blue and white shield, it's got a pretty nice design, and I'm all about giving you options. Drop down safely and you should see a church on the horizon in front of you. Head to the church, pick up the grace and the sacred tier, and then we're going to head down to the merchant shack that we marked on the map earlier. This guy sells a lot of handy items. He sells the Zweihander, which is a colossal sword. He sells Lost Ashes of War, which allows you to duplicate an Ash of War remembrance. And he sells smithing stones as well. We've come here mainly for the Zweihander because it's a nice sword and we can put a really strong Ashes of War on this later on. Now we're going to mark another location on the map, this tower to the south of us. Head there and climb up the ladder and use the chest. We're going to be teleported to the Leyndell capital. Run straight ahead and past the giant, go right and loot the chest for the Blessed Dew Talisman. This talisman slowly restores HP and is one of the main talismans we'll be using in this build. Now head back to Stormhill Shack, mark the bridge on your map and make your way north. Once you get to the end of the bridge, drop down here and then make your way up the cliff and turn right. Follow the path all the way up to the top until you reach the grace here. Enter the church on your left and grab the sacred tear. Exit the church and follow the path down to the left. Keep going down the hill through a small encampment and then you'll find another grace on the left next to the lake. There's another merchant here who sells some smithing stones. He also sells a really nice shield, so you could grab that if you wanted to. Next, head north, you'll find the first map piece for this region. It is heavily guarded by some enemies, so just bait them out and then run back around and pick it up. Keep heading northwest and you'll find the next grace point. Once you've collected the grace, continue northwest and you'll find some ruins. There's a waypoint in the ruins. It will take us to the main academy gate south. Once here, grab the grace, then turn around, head down the bridge and take a sharp left. Go behind the building and you'll find a guard roaming around. This is your second opportunity to grab the brass shield if you haven't already. Good luck on the loot. I got a second brass shield, so I must be really lucky. Head east and go down the staircase. Once you reach the bottom, turn right and then turn left and you'll find a golden seed. Keep heading east and you'll come across the next grey site and the second map piece. Since we've got the map, we're going to open it and mark the bridge here, and then we're going to put a waypoint north because that's our next destination. Follow the waypoints that we've set until you find the next grace and then head left up the hill until you find the Leyndell Knight that's roaming around here. We need to kill this guy just one time. He has a really nice set that you can farm, so remember this location, write it down or put a little marker on your map so you can come back and farm this gear later if you'd like to. Once we kill him, we'll get a guaranteed drop of the Dragon Cult Prayerbook, and if you get any of his gear, that'll be a nice bonus for you. The Dragon Cult Prayerbook allows us to buy lightning spells, but we need to hand it in to an NPC first. So we're going to grab the Grace North, we're going to loot this dead body on the right hand side of the Grace to get a smithing stone 4, and then we're going to cross over the stone bridge just north and head down to the next encampment. In here you'll find an incantation on a dead body called Flame Cleanse Me. This spell is really useful for cleansing things like poison, scarlet rot and other ailments, so it's very handy to have this equipped when we get more memory slots. Take a left here and enter the Church of Vows. We're going to speak to the NPC here and give him the Dragon Cult Prayerbook. We're now able to buy the incantations that we need. We're going to buy Lightning Bolt and Blessing's Boon. Altogether, this is going to cost us 10,000 runes, so go into your inventory and use some runes that we collected earlier if you need them. You can pick up the other spells if you want, but I'm not going to cover those in this guide. I feel like there's a whole other possible build for a paladin to use which focuses on dexterity and lightning rather than strength and faith. Lightning actually scales with dexterity, so I'm going to make a whole other build around that. If that sounds interesting to you, make sure you subscribe so you don't miss out on that video. Head to the Greys and we're going to equip the incantations that we just picked up. We can't use Blessing's Boon yet. I've got an idea of what we can do about that, and we'll go and collect an item soon to help us out, so don't worry. We're now going to put some markers on the map, so just copy as I do now. Follow the path down here. We're now going to enter a very hostile area where archers will be shooting at you, and these archers do not miss. Be prepared to chug a health flask or two whilst you run through here. Grab the Greys, and then we need to go under the walking Colosseum. Make your way as far northwest as you can until you reach the cliffside, and then we're going to look for the stairs down the cliff to the platform below. I remarked the location of the stairs here, so that might help you out if you can't find them. Next, carefully, and I mean carefully, head down the stairs, get to the platform below, and then we're going to head west until we find the grey site just up here. Set the same waypoints on the map as I do, and then follow this road down until you get to the Bellum Church. Pick up the Greys here, and then take the Sacred Tier. Once you approach the Grand Lift of Dectus, we're going to be attacked by catapults. Go past the guards, climb up the right hand side, and in this chest you'll find the Great Mace. Keep going and go inside the Grand Lift of Dectus, take the Grace on your right, and then walk up between the two statues and hoist the medallion to go up into the next region. Once you get into the next region, follow the path all the way up until you see the Golden Seed. On the right hand side of the Golden Seed, you're going to find a Grace, so make sure you pick up both, and keep heading up the path until you find the map for this location. Open the map and we're going to set a waypoint nearby, head west and stay on the left side of the encampment until you find your way around to the carriage at the bottom here. Loot the carriage and you'll get the Greatshield Talisman. Next, head further west and you'll see a golden seed on the top of the hill. Take the Grace and then we're going to follow the path even further west. Run down the hill and a dragon will spawn. Just keep running past him. Stay on the left side of the lake and follow the water until you find a crystal scarab here. This scarab's going to give us the Sacred Order Ash of War, which does very high damage to the undead. Next, fast travel back to the grave site where we picked up the map and head up the right hand side of the staircase to avoid the ballistas and then through the double doors at the top. You'll find a grace here along with 2 golden seeds and the second piece of the map for the Leyndell area. Open your map and we're going to head down to 2 locations right here. We're going to pick up the Prayerful Strike Ash of War and pick up the Smithing Stone Bell Bearing number 2. Once you've got to the lake area, stand between the 2 cliffs here and watch out for the slugs. Wait for the crystal scarab to come past and then loot yourself the Prayerful Strike. We're going to head into the tunnel over here and we're going to put all of our Ashes of War on all of our weapons. I have Sacred Blade on the Claymore, Golden Vow on the Lance, Sacred Order on the Zweihander, and Prayerful Strikes on the Great Mace. Head through the hidden tunnel here, roll through all the boxes, and then loot the chest for the Smithing Stone Minor Bell Bearing number 2. If you head northeast in the cave and turn left, you'll find a Smithing Stone 5, and once you've grabbed that, we're going to head back to the Lakes of Liurnia. Now for the final item, and it's an easy one, so don't worry. Mark the same locations on the map that I do. Follow the path all the way up until you get to the ruins here. Inside the ruins, there'll be a hatch which is covered by some wooden planks. Smash the planks and walk down the stairs, loot the chest, and you'll find a Faith Talisman. Congratulations, you've now got all the items. If you want a recap of what we've got, head back to the start of the video where I showcase every main part of the build. Otherwise, Otherwise, you can watch me use the build now against Margit and Godrick. I've used all my golden seeds and sacred tears, and I've got 10 flasks in total. I'm going to use the Faith Talisman so I can buff myself with Blessings Boon. I'm going to switch to the Lance so I can buff myself with Golden Vow. Then I'm going to switch back to the Claymore and buff myself further with the Physick Flask. I'm going to open up with a projectile and empower my blade. Whenever Margit's quite a distance away, we're going to bust out a lightning spear to do high damage whilst we're safe. And I'm going to use the Holy Ground Art of War, which is a bonus item that you'll be able to pick up at the end of the video. This actually heals you if you stay within the circle, so it's a really nice item for boss fights. If you watch my health, it's just going up with all these buffs that I've got on. So we're trading quite a lot, but I've got so much regeneration going on, it just doesn't seem to affect me. Now, at this point, I've run out of FP, so I'm going to have to use a healing flask, unfortunately. I took a few more hits, so instead of dying on my first attempt, I used another flask, which is fine. We got the kill. Nice and easy. After we killed Margit, there's an important item that we need to pick up. We're going to be using the heavy affinity when we apply our Ashes of War. You can pick up the Iron Whetblade in Stormvale Castle. Follow my direction over the rooftops, down into this courtyard, and then use one Stonesword key to gain access to this room here. You'll find the Iron Whetblade in front of the fireplace. We learnt a lot from that fight with Margit. This build is a very FP hungry build, so this time I buffed myself, then I rested at the Grace to get my FP flasks back, and I also gave myself another 2 FP flasks. So let's see how this fight with Godrick goes. He's a much harder boss, but now we know how the build works and we know what flasks we need, I reckon we'll do a lot better. Use your projectiles, but don't waste all of your FP spamming this ability. We're not mages, we're paladins. You want to get in there with your sword. When my HP drops down, I created distance and equipped the Blessed Dew Talisman, so I had some really nice regeneration going on. I also used the Physick Flask, which is going to heal me for around 1200 health over a 3-minute period. I equipped my shield and used Holy Ground so I could get some more healing, and then switched to my Great Mace with Prayerful strikes so I could attack the boss and get heals at the same time. We enter phase 2 with full health, so I swapped to the Zweihander to do some heavy damage. I managed to stance break the boss so we get a nice critical hit in. As you can see, my health is just ticking up nicely. We do take a considerable amount of damage here, so I swapped back to the Claymore and the shield with Holy Ground on, and I used the Ash of War to get some nice heals whilst I use the projectiles to damage the boss. As Godrick closes the gap, we go back on the offensive and we finish the kill. We used 2 FP flasks for that fight and not a single HP flask was used. So, ladies and gents, we've seen the Paladin build in action. Please remember you have a lance and a shield barrier if you want to attack in a more defensive manner. It's very simple. Use your barrier Ash of War and poke the enemies until they die. Make sure you use good stamina management so you don't get stance broken and you'll literally be unkillable. If you're interested in getting bonus items, including the Tree Sentinel armor set and the Holy Ground Ash of War shown in the boss fights, please stick around for that. If you learnt something or found this guide useful, please consider liking the video. If you want to see more guides just like this one, make sure you subscribe and tickle my bell so you get notified when I upload a new build video. So we're going to head back outside of Leyndell capital and we're going to set some waypoints on the map. Head up the staircase here until you reach the top and you'll find 2 golden seeds. Keep heading north across the deserted battlefield and you'll find some stairs which lead up the cliff. Head left once you get to the top of the stairs and you should find a grace near the outer capital walls. Speak to the merchant here. He's got a few handy items, including the Distinguished Greatshield. This is the first Greatshield that we've got. If you plan on using a lance and a shield, I recommend you use a Greatshield as you'll have more defense overall. We do require some more strength levels to wield it, however, but we'll get that in time. Keep following the waypoints that we've marked on the map. Head down the cliff and through the gap between the cliffs here. You'll come across a small building, open the door and head inside. It's very important that you equip the Opaline Bubble Tier in your Physick Flask and the Sacred Blade Ash of War onto whichever weapon you'll be using. This is going to help us tackle the enemies in this cave. Head down and take a right. You'll see a light down below spawn a chariot. Take cover on the left and then go straight past it and drop down the hole on the left side. Run through here quickly because a lot of mobs will spawn. Go up the stairs and turn right, and as soon as you get to the end, run out and turn left very quickly before the chariot catches up with us. When the chariot passes, or it's safe to do so, run down and dodge the chariot on the left and the right and then stop at this pillar here until the chariot in front has passed. Head out to the dead body, align yourself with it and drop down onto the wooden beams here. Follow my route and drop down onto the far right beam next to the wall and run all the way across the room until you get to the ladder at the other side. Keep running down and then stop again. This is where we want to apply Sacred Blade, and when it's safe to do so, run from this side to the other side and take out the skeleton that's hiding here. Sacred Blade hits really hard against undead, but I'm having a hard time with the Zweihander in this small area. Now, this is the important part. Make sure you use the Opaline Bubble Tier that's in your flask, wait for the chariot to start heading down the ramp and then follow it. There's a safe place on the left, allow the chariot to hit you and then get up and quickly hide on the left. You can now pass the chariot and head into the tunnel down here. Apply Sacred Blade again and take out the enemies, or skip them entirely if you choose to. Take a left and go up the lift at the top of the stairs. When you get to the top of the lift, mind the fire and run through when you can. Hit the column and it will rise. You'll see a light on the column that's going to spawn a chariot like we witnessed at the start of the dungeon. Dodge the fire and make your way through to the other side. Apply Sacred Blade again because there is a skeleton down here. The light on the column will spawn another chariot and it will smash into the other 2 roaming around here, and you'll receive the Tree Sentinel armor and the Holy Ground Ash of War. The Tree Sentinel gear looks amazing, but it is very heavy, so we're going to pick up another bonus item, which is the Jar Arsenal Talisman. You need 2 Stonesword keys to do this, so make sure you've got enough. We need to go back to Mistwood, head back to the Minor Erd Tree, go into the small building here and take the lift down. Once you get to the bottom, take the grace and then run right, pick up the Ghost Glovewort 1 here. You'll thank me later. Head up the river and you'll find another Ghost Glovewort, some runes, some smithing stones, and then we're going to take the second lift and head up the river again until you find the next grace. Head north and you'll find a little island with a waypoint on it. Use the waypoint and we'll be transported further north. Take a left and climb up the cliff. Prepare to chug some HP flasks because there's some really strong archers again. Grab the golden seed here and then head back to where we started. Continue north, up the right side of this area until you get to the lift at the top. Use both the Stonesword keys to access the lift and then travel up back into Caelid. Once we're back in Caelid, head west, past the giants and make your way to the large jar in front of the Colosseum up here. Use the roots to block the arrows to get through safely. Once you get to the jar, we need to actually quit the game so that the giants stop shooting at us. Log back in and speak to the jar. After you've spoken to him, you'll see 3 red summoning signs on the floor. We need to kill all of these enemies to receive the jar Arsenal Talisman. There's a good way to cheese this, but it may take some time. You need to aggro the enemies over to this left side here and perch on the side of the cliff. Once they jump up, they'll most likely fall off the edge trying to attack you. Repeat this 3 times and then speak to the jar again for the talisman. And there we have it, we're finally done with all the bonus items. Now we're ready to play the game and enjoy our build. If you enjoyed this walkthrough, please like the video. It took me hours to record, test and edit, but I enjoyed every second of it. I plan to make more guides and with your feedback I can improve the quality of my videos. If you'd like to see more guides like this one, consider subscribing to my channel. It's completely free and it motivates me to keep pumping out the content. If you're already subscribed, you're a bloody legend. If you have any questions, drop a comment down below and I'll be sure to answer them. That's enough from me. I hope you enjoy the build. Hope you have a brilliant day, mate. Peace.